We live. Man, and I was teaching today, which me teaching pretty much it's weird. It's a weird thing. Teaching is a weird thing. Because the guy I'm teaching is actually a teacher. Right? The weird part about being a teacher is is it's really about finding your style with it and how and it's really interesting in hearing how other teachers became teachers and then the teachers like compare contrast like what works for them in settings and what doesn't work. So in reality, I don't think I'm not really a teacher. I am like what I do ends up being a therapy session disguised as teaching because I got in my foundation in with speaking to people on a higher level came from from doing counseling first and then transitioning over to teaching. There's just ways I handle things that people who say for example like someone who came up as a teacher like I do things entirely different. So like for example, I think I've shared on here a long time ago with when it comes so when you're a teacher you usually have to make either some type of PowerPoint presentation or just to summarize it all up you usually have to make some type of a lesson plan when you're a teacher. So you have to literally write down like spend the first 5 to 10 minutes as a as a warm-up session, ask the people how they were doing, and then spend the next 5 to 10 minutes talking about the main topic for the day and the intricacies of it, and then spend the next 15 to 20 minutes explaining the assignment and then letting them break off into groups. You literally, so when you go to any type of a class, majority of people will always work off of a lesson plan. Like they literally have to write out every 5 to 10 minutes maximum what they plan to do for the entire session. One can be for them for okay, the reason why people will generally always do this, especially if they work in like an actual school. They usually do this maybe not necessarily for themselves, but if they get sick and if somebody has a substitute, the substitute can just read the lesson plan and follow the lesson plan the whole time. Now, with that being said, lesson plans can go to shit real fast. And you have to be able to adapt on the fly a lot of times. Now, I remember when I was first learning how to teach. Again, I had learned to teach after I had done therapy. So I knew when it came time to stand in front of a class of people and let's say something just didn't go according to plan, I knew how to automatically adapt and like segue into something else kind of thing, right? But I remember there was one guy, I was with a group of people, and there was one guy, like he completely panicked when the lesson plan didn't go according and he didn't have a plan for what could go wrong in his head or written down or anything. I remember this one guy, he completely panicked and he just packed all his shit up and walked out the room. The teacher, like this is when we were learning how to teach. He completely panicked and just walked out the room. It's not I'm not making fun of him, but these are just situations that happen. So again, like it's so interesting to me, like talking to other teachers and figure or watching other teachers and how they operate. Like for example, if you Google like people who do TED talks or Google like university professors and just watch them teach, like me now as a teacher, I like it's interesting. Oh, thanks, Needs. Thanks for the subscription. It's interesting for me to watch public speakers and teachers to see like where my style could fit into that kind of thing or what they're doing better than I do kind of thing. So for example, like my style again, since I'm coming from being a therapist, as a therapist, we like they never trained us to like go by every 5 minutes on what to ask the person, because our job is to get you talking. So like our job is to be able to our like my job is to be able to sit down and keep you talking and keep you thinking for an hour straight, and to become creative. And and there's times where everything could just go to shit. I could just not have anything next to say, or they could just run out of stuff to say. These things happen. Like they completely happen. Um, but again, but since I've done this for so long, I've gotten relatively good at it. So like by the time I have to teach someone, you know, it usually pretty much turns into like a therapist session somewhere, especially with a lot of people that I've been getting recently. Like for example, the guy I was just teaching now, which is pretty much this conversation. We were talking because and this is the crazy part about my life. First, I'll start with this. The crazy part about my life and my professions is that I bounce in and out of different socioeconomic, intellectual groups every day. Like from people who never moved out their parents' house to people who are the are the chair at some company. They're on a board of some company. Then next guy may be an accountant, and the next guy may be he might be driving Uber Eats for the last 5 years. Like I'll literally just go from different walk of life all the time. I never know what I'm getting. I just have no idea what I'm going to get next. And the weird part is just hearing that person's lifestyle and what they see as possible in life. And then next thing I know, I go to to a director, and then hear what they got to say and what they see as possible. And it really becomes a mind fuck. From my side, like versus if I was just a teacher, it would be a much more like basic path of locked into a general socioeconomic and intellectual area of where I'm going to be as just strictly a teacher. But like, since I'm doing a teacher slash therapist, and then I'm over here teaching with, English speaking, like it's really just wild shit. Um, um, but yeah, but back to the guy I'm teaching now, the guy I just got done teaching. Great guy. He's a great guy. And he's a professor. He's teaching biophysics, and 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 he has to run a meeting for chair members soon, and he's really worried about, because he has to do it in English, and he's really worried about what to say and not sounding rude. How does he move on to the next topic without sounding like he's pushing people? How does he invite them into the conversation? So we run through like a fake presentation of it, and I just start laughing. Right, I just literally, I'm sitting like literally right here, just as a kid. I didn't even move my laptop. My laptop's set right here, and I just start laughing. I'm just going like, you know, it's like, what's so funny? As it Because you already know what you're doing. Like, you're trying to fix something that's not broken. And I told him, I said, look, man, like, this is not adding up. You are a grown ass man with a professional profession. You're standing in front of people every day talking for hours as a teacher. Why do you think you need help now? Like, none of this is adding up. So then we get to talking, and this is where the therapy side started coming in. Because I told him pretty much like his problem is not English. English is not his. I mean, his English isn't absolutely perfect, but English is not his problem. You know. So we get to talking, and he's actually worried about one of the female directors. I think one of the female directors. He said she's a person who just like she can't never say she was wrong, and she just always picks apart people, and but she's pretty much like the boss of everything. So like he doesn't know how to be nice about her being pretty much like a bitch, right? And that's where all of this preparation for the lesson is really originating from. It's not really his English. And he even said it himself. It's a psychological issue. It's not a language issue. He actually said that. And I get, here's the thing. I get that situation. it's a psychological issue, not a language issue. I get that situation more from the people who tend to work in higher positions. Like they know if you sit them down, if you sit them down and focus on it, they know. Now there is another part of the population where, let's say, like, okay, over here, like I said, I'm in Central Europe where English is not the first language. What I also found out is that it's not extremely common, but it's a fairly common situation where they will classify each other's, like, social uh, position based off their ability to speak English and based off their accents, their choice of words. If they say a word in English that other people don't know, well, they're now the smarter one, kind of thing, right? I come across that a good amount. It's not super common, but it definitely comes up. Like they will judge each other based off of their ability to speak English. And yeah, it's now the relatively speaking, the lower end jobs, like the lower people, they don't seem to have that same problem. Their thing is they just want to speak with an English speaker because they're tired of watching YouTube. So they'll come to me, because it just is what it is. But yeah, it's really a mindfuck. What's up, Will? Yeah, I'm still a little sick, but I'm good. I missed yesterday's stream. What's up, Andrew? What's up, man? Mo, what's up, man? What's up, Eddie? Since you put your baby onto the side, how often do you see Kratos? Oh, they were supposed to come over today, but her mom wanted to watch him. We still call. She still calls and all that. She called me earlier. She called me earlier saying that because they're supposed to come. She's supposed to come over tomorrow, today or tomorrow today. But her mom wanted to watch the baby, so that's why they're not here right now. Um, but even then, like even in our worst to date, the longest I've ever gone was like I think about a week and a half, and half of that was because I was sick. If it wasn't for that, without me being sick, the longest to date I've ever gone without seeing him is about a week in person because she'll still call, like, video call with him all the time. But yeah, man, I had to kick her out because she was tripping. She started getting too much in herself. She started getting she started getting to way too much. How can I explain it, man? She was just starting to get too she's starting to rot. She was beginning to rot, and she's getting too deep in herself, in her head. And then on top of it, I could tell she started to listen. She started watching Instagram and TikTok and all that. Maybe not TikTok, but she started watching social media because the shit she was saying, it was nothing. That's not shit she says. And see, now this is a slick part about being, the native speaker versus the non-native speaker, and you're speaking like in my language. Like I can tell when she starts listening to people that I can tell when she's taking advice from other people because she starts using different words that she never uses before, or she starts bringing up things that she never brings up before. But it's very clear when that person is a non-native speaker. And yeah, like I said, she started to get she started to get too much in herself, so I had to kick her out because it got to a point where I was telling another friend of mine about this. It was getting to a point where if if I had let her get away with that and let her keep doing what she wanted to do, I would have fucked around and end up stuck in that cycle for a decade at minimum, and she would have taken over everything. Now, if you let her tell it, she would always say no, that's not right, that's not true. But that's exactly what would happen. See, these are things that women on a whole. This is why, like many societies, it just came to the conclusion to just like enslave women, because because when women's minds take over, they literally turn into animals. Like they don't see what they do in their own instincts. Like they genuinely don't see it. You see what I'm saying? Like for example, I remember with my niece and nephew, whenever, because my brother's always in trouble with the law. He's always going to jail for something, and it's always something stupid too. But whenever he would go to jail, my niece and nephew would tear up the whole house, the 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 project housing that was where they lived. They live down there at Witten Terrace. If anybody in here is from Cincinnati, Ohio, you know what Witten Terrace is. It's a big project in close to downtown Cincinnati, and I used to go down there and visit them all the time. And I remember whenever he would be gone for a while, you can tell because the blinds would be torn up, everything would be out of order. Like the mothers will let the kids do whatever they want and just destroy shit, or they'll be over vigilant and keep things clean when they get older. But especially when they're smaller, mothers let kids do exactly whatever the goddamn hell they want, right? And I could tell and then when he would come back, the house would get cleaner again. See that whole thing that mothers clean the house and all that. That is, for generally speaking, that's another myth that women get away with because society just just accepts it. Um, but yeah, if I had to let her get away with being how she was, she wouldn't even have liked herself after 10 years. She would have hated herself even more after 10 years. And it really got to a point. And again, due to my professions of me always kind of deep diving into the mental framework of different mentalities, whether it's like financial, social hierarchies, whatever. Yeah, and just hearing all the stories, not much really changes in the dynamics between men and women. It all pretty much stays at the core the same thing. And I just seen where it was headed from my history of work with people older than me, right? And what they went through for 20, 30 years, 10, 20, 30 years, right? Just all the stories I've worked with and lived with kind of thing and went out and drank with. And, I just seen too much of it to be able to fall for it. So I said, okay, I told myself, okay, if I kick her out, there's a chance she may not want to come back. There's a chance she may cut me out. So I said to myself, okay, of course I don't want to be separated from my son and all that, but I had to look at the reality of the whole picture. I said, okay, um, at this rate, we gonna start arguing in front of him, and arguing in front of the boy is not good for the parents. so so it really got to the point where it was going to start mentally completely dragging me down. And she's already, here's the thing, she's at the point now where she was starting to rot, where she was already dragging herself down because she's aging and she gained weight and she's got to compete with Prague women, which is a whole higher league of physically higher league of woman in the world. So she's already getting depressed and mad. Now she'll never admit these things, but she's depressed and mad at herself because she's aged and gained weight, and and has a baby, and she can't compete with 20-year-old girls anymore. It's just over for that for her. So she's fighting all that. She'll never admit these things, but that's what it is. You can read any psychology book on the dynamics of aging women, and that's what it's always come. It will always come back down to that. So it's not her personally, even though if I say it, she'll take it personally. But it's not her personally. It's the reality. So it comes back. It came back to, okay, if I do sacrifice my mental health just to be in my son's life, at this rate, there's no telling what else I end up sacrificing just so I can physically look at my son, right? But then it's the other reality. Well, okay, what's to say that she doesn't get something else in her head and she decides to just get up and leave and just run off on her own, right? There's nothing saying she wouldn't do that. So I said, okay, in this scenario, the best option for me is to just go ahead and be the initiator of the breakup. That would be the best position to be in. Is to be the one who started it and then live with it. And if worse comes to worse, I just go out and start another family. I'll just chalk it up to the six matrices that happened before. I'll just be the architect now from the Matrix. And be like, we have become very efficient. I don't know if you guys remember that. I hope I don't sound crazy. But that's from that Matrix scene when Neo goes to see the architect, and Neo finds out that there was actually six other matrices that existed before Neo's world, and they had killed off all the people before that. I gotta play architect now. Like, yo, look, looks like I'm about to start on an eighth matrix, bro, because y'all was tripping, and just delete that shit and keep moving. That was the only option. Now, at this rate, it looks like she's getting better. She is talking and looking and sounding better since I kicked her out. Um, but yeah, she had just begun to rot. She was beginning to completely rot. And I won't tell other things that she did because I don't want to I don't want to embarrass her, even though it will be completely truthful. But I'm not gonna put her. I'm not gonna say it on YouTube. But there was there was a good four or five other things she was doing that was just not right. And I was talking to my dad about it, and he immediately was like, "Yeah, like that's strange, you know." Um, but she was beginning to rot. She was beginning to completely rot. She was gonna turn into that old. She At the rate she was going, she's gonna turn into that old crazy woman. And I just can't be a part of that. From Poland, what's up, man? Daniel, you in Poland? Oh, yeah, yeah, well, moje české špatné, ale jak řekne siwy polski. Może česky skoro stejný jako Polish, ale trošku rozdíl slov a gramatika. Ale myslím, že moje česky je špatný teďka, určitě, protože, well, moje česky je hovno. Možná rozumíš, protože já vím česky Polish. How do you say Polish, like, as a language? Like, for example, like how these are things that, like, especially like as English speakers, we don't really think about. For example, like, to say pig and then pork, right? Like, I never even thought about that. It's two completely just weirdly different words that mean the same, that mean just like the animal or the meat from the animal, right? Like, these are just little differences. Or like cow and beef, like, that makes no sense how, like, we have one word for the name of the animal and then another word for the meat from the animal. You know what I mean? Because you technically could just ask for cow if you go to a restaurant. People would know what you meant, but we say beef, at a restaurant. Um, I forgot where I was going with that. But you from Poland. I hope my Czech was good enough for you to understand it. Because I heard there's Czech and Polish can have similarities, but there's some words that are just completely different. So maybe you couldn't understand what I was saying. What's up, Games Day? Greeting, bud, from Arizona. Arizona, what's up, man? A friend of mine, he just moved out. He moved out there from Texas. Yeah, Texas. One one time you said if you allow a woman to go far enough, she'll drive you crazy, and that's why you see guys in bars with giant beer guts being depressed. Can you elaborate? Oh yeah, Eric's. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. I will say most, if not all, guys, how they end up out there, in bars with beer bellies, drinking up all the alcohol, or they end up working some piece of shit job. Their whole, there's just a complete piece of shit, and they just let go of their body, their life, and all that because they allowed themselves to get strung out over a woman. That'll usually sum it up. I would say in 90% of cases, because they running from it. They're running from here's a sad part about most relationships on earth. I hope I don't forget where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to highlight this so I don't forget. I hope I don't lose it. So here's the thing. Here's a sad truth that I had learned about. Um, I had learned about human connections. It was in it was in a communications class, but it wasn't even in our lesson. It was the teacher actually told us. It was this Mexican dude, and he told us how he had like 12 kids, and his wife just upped and left him and didn't say anything and left the kids with him. And I remember I asked him, I said, "What the? How did you do that? You know, how did you?" He said he went off to got his master's degree with his 12 kids as a single father. I said, "How did you do that?" Wouldn't it be I said, wouldn't that be hard if it's just you and the kids? He goes, oh no, actually it was easier. When she left, everything got much easier. Because now he didn't have to worry about her emotions and all that. He can just operate and develop. He wasn't dragged down by this woman's emotions and starting arguments and purposely not doing shit just to start something. You know, he didn't have to worry about that anymore. Anyway, I remember one time because he would always tell us these deeper parts because his master's was in it, I think. And I remember he told us that out of like every 10 people you meet that you'll talk to, immediately like 6 or 7 of them will fall off, and it's nothing you could have ever done, right? Out of every 10, 60 to 70% of people that you'll meet will just immediately disappear, whether they got sidetracked with something, maybe they really didn't like you, maybe they thought you didn't like them, you know, it could be anything, right? So immediately out of every 10, 6 or 7 people would just disappear out of your life. Out of those 10, so you got 4 left. Out of those 10, uh, between 2 to 3, you can keep up some type of casual conversation that may last a week or a month. But after 6 months, at minimum, 3 of those people will disappear. So after 6 months, out of every 10 people that you will meet, at best, generally speaking, at best, you have a 10% chance of you have. I'm sorry, at best, you 10% of all the people you'll meet, you can actually maintain after 6 months in your life. These are just statistical facts that he was telling us. Now, did I ever actually fact check it? No, but when I gave it thought, it definitely made a lot of sense. Um, but I think I did end up looking up somewhere else and reading it. Maybe I did. I'm pretty sure I'm because I wouldn't just run away with something because I'm really into these social things. Um, but here's the thing. So going back to the beer belly thing, these things primarily because most value in life is based off of social. Okay, that's why jobs give you pizza parties at work, and that's why people end up staying after the pizza parties because most payment is actually social. It's not really money. Um, in terms of being human. Of course, you got to eat in these things, but I mean like payment in a sense of like reward. Most of it's social. Um, so so let's say at best you can keep 10% of everybody you meet. Well, at that rate, um, um, people are more willing to lie to themselves to keep friends. More people are more willing to put up with things they probably shouldn't put up with just to keep friends around. You know, people will lie to themselves or lie to other people just to keep friends, right? You see it all the time. You see it all the time. Why do people buy cars they can't afford? Why do people buy phones they can't afford? Why do people buy shoes they can't afford? Why do people buy houses they can't afford? Because they're trying to get in with a certain social group. And so they would rather lie to themselves and buy something that they know they can't afford just to get that social acceptance, right? Now, what happens when that social acceptance, when the person gets strung out on it? If inevitably, it is inevitable at some point they will end up strung out and they will lose it. They'll lose it on some point. In some regard, they will lose it. Maybe they can't. They find out that when they get into that social circle, that they're kicked out of a higher social circle, and they get mad and depressed about it. They can't move up to the director's table because they don't like them for whatever reason. Right. At some point, it's going to happen. Right. And when you allow yourself to get strung out on it, what's the first thing people do to run away from themselves even further? Drink alcohol. Do drugs, anything that will give them that escape from reality. And see, this is where my friends and family, even my spouse, like even my spouse who knows me pretty well with this, they still get me confused with like an average person. See, and this is why I get so frustrated with average people, because when people can read what humans do and they still go out and do the exact shit anyway, I get frustrated, right? So I was just telling the guy I was teaching today when I was laughing at him. I was explaining to him, like, no, I'm not laughing at you. And I explained to him, look, I'm doing well if I'm laughing and drinking alcohol, it's because things are going very good. Okay, as soon as I know things are not going good, that's it for alcohol. I don't drink alcohol at all. There is no laughing, there's no jokes, none of that, nothing. I'm dead serious. Okay, because I'm working to get out of a problem. All right. Whereas most people it would be flipped. Like as soon as there's a problem, now they trying to laugh and joke and drink to run away from their problems. I'm not running away from problems. I'm taking my problems head on and figuring out a way out of them before I drink and laugh again. But most people will end up trying to drown out their own inner voice. But here's the sad part is that their fear of losing whatever will pounce that inner voice of what they doing of what they know what the right thing to do for real, because again that social acceptance means more. And it makes sense because social acceptance was literally how humans survived for most of our time on Earth was through social acceptance. You get accepted to the right tribe, the right group, and you gonna get food, right? So it's not like it doesn't make sense. It does make sense. But the ability to adapt to reality is where many people completely fail. The ability to adapt. So what do? They're gonna drink. They're going to drink and they'll be mad at the woman. They'll be mad at what she did. They'll be mad at what they did for her. And they're going to sit up and get drunk. I got a friend here. He's doing that right now. Out of every guy I know, I'm the only one who actually kicked the baby mama out. Out of every guy I know. Out of every guy I think I've ever known who's had a kid with a woman, I'm the only one who actually kicked the woman out. Everybody else I know got kicked out, or she got up and left. So I know a guy here. He's from New York. He's got a pretty little girl. She's like 5 years old, pretty little girl. Because she plays with my son whenever we hang out, and she speaks fluent English, by the way, and fluent English and fluent Czech. And his baby mama left him for a guy, and I'm not exaggerating, who literally lives across the street, right? And he's fucked up about it because she left him with the bill. She left him with the bills and everything. And he's fucked up about it. And he's sitting. And he told me he's just sitting up drinking when he doesn't have his daughter. He just drinks wine all day, just drinking wine. I'm like, yo, man, and see, all that plays in fact, like who leaves first, who does what first, and all. Now, if he had been the one to kick her out, he wouldn't be. He would have been sad, but he wouldn't have been in that position. And here's the thing: see, women know these things, and they know that most men don't know these things. And this is how women will usually dominate men in the emotion game because they know men don't put a lot of thought into the power of who does what and all that. So women will a lot of times use that to their advantage. See, there's a lot of little social tricks that women had literally 250, 200 and 200 and what was it? Women have had 299,950 years of evolutionary practice at male manipulation. Okay. So most men are not going to know how to adapt to that shit. Right. Let's do the math. Do the math. Let's do the math real quick on how much time. What's 300 minus let's say what 50. I think I did it right. Yeah, hang on. Yeah. Women have had 299,950 years of evolutionary practice at emotional manipulation. Because what has woman always done? Woman has never gone off and developed her own country. She's never gone off. One woman as a whole has never gone off and developed her own country, her own state of laws, none of that. What has woman always done? Woman has always played cockroach and followed a man around and ate his crumbs and hope he protected her from the world. Right. So what does that mean? She has to now manipulate the man to do what she wants when she needs it. So women have had almost 300,000 years of evolutionary practice at male manipulation. Okay, see, these are the facts that see these are the facts that you have to acknowledge. You have to accept them because it's true. Okay. Now, with that being said, now women are gonna have instincts that are far above men when it comes to emotional manipulation because this is what they have. Now on the flip side, how feminism always tries to make it sound like men are so evil, blah blah da da da. Well, this was 300,000 years in the making. Okay, so when it comes now I'm going on a slight feminist rant because I was watching one video where this ass clown was like he was a man who was just telling women everything. Maybe I could find it and show it later, but it was absolutely ridiculous. So 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 just off basic math of human existence and 299,950 years of men and women holding generally overall consistent gender roles in life based off of physiological forms and psychological forms, we can say that women nobody can deny that women have 299,950 years of evolutionary experience over men in emotional manipulation. Okay. Now with that same data, you cannot say that women have 299,950 years of leadership instincts. Okay. Of building instincts, of developing instincts. Okay. And see, this is where feminism will completely fall apart. And anybody who actually studies in any form sociology or anthropology, like their argument, this is why you will never find a feminist who will ever happily go interview a sociologist or anthropologist, unless they cherry pick one specific little area in literally a 2 year period that they can get an explanation for. This is why you will never see feminists walk into the sociology department. They won't do it. Okay, because they know they're getting ready because they know it's gonna blow up in their face. But no, okay, but back to the original topic, the fat the drinking. Um, yeah. So by the time, especially men, they keep 10% of people they've ever met their whole lives. They're conditioned to lie to fit in, especially in modern times. They're conditioned to do it. And then on top of that, a girlfriend, the chance again of keeping women around are much lower than that. So now the man has built up so many bad habits in his development, right? That now it becomes almost impossible for a man to grow above it. I mean, thank God we have YouTube to at least show in the internet to show awareness on what women actually do and what they're proud of getting away with. Because again, look, 20 years ago, most men never, okay, men would fight me for saying half the shit that I say on here. I mean, would literally want to fight me for this shit. I remember the one friend of mine, Iman, when I would just break shit down, right, and just say like, yeah, that somebody loves that porn star, Jenna Jameson. Oh, there was a dude who loved her to death. There was a dude who would wait for her to call her back, to call him back because he wanted to take her out to a nice dinner, to a nice hotel, and just and love her and treat her well. There was a man who loved Jenna Jameson to death and would have done anything for her. But she and that woman is choosing to go and suck dicks on camera. And men 20 years ago, they would have fought me over that because they didn't know how to think. They're scared. And you still have guys who are like that. In fact, there's one documentary. Let me see if I can pull this documentary up. There's this clown. Let's do. There's this one clown who I think it was Germany. And there's this clown. He's interviewing this German woman walking down the street, and he just wants like this dude is like so desperate to like make the woman sound like she is a victim to life, and the woman is literally never saying anything along the lines of It always comes up in my feed in my YouTube. But like some men just do not like they just like the men are just entirely naive. What's that? Is it DW? He's walking down the street and saying the title is something like "It Hurts" or something like that, and the whole time he's like trying, he's like desperately. I remember this one because I did a video on this one. Um, like there's still a population of men who are just so desperate to cling on to the fact that if a woman does anything bad, it's because somebody severely hurt her. Okay, first off, there's so many men who are desperately naively and just selfishly clinging to this idea that if a woman goes out and becomes a prostitute or has a bunch of sex, if the woman does anything wrong in a man's mind, that woman must have been dangerously hurt by a man. And see, you never hear feminists talk about that situation. Because again, once you open up a little bit, now you got to open it all up, and you'll see how much bullshit it is. Okay. See, what's right and wrong, women do not say what's right and wrong. Men say what's right and wrong. Okay. That it's harsh to say it, but it's the reality. Women do not define what is right and wrong. Men define what is right and wrong. And then women hear it and then figure out how they can manipulate whatever it is that da 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 da, right, and get their payments, whatever, emotional whatever out of it. They manipulate after men decide what's right and what's wrong, right. And there's, if I could find an interview, I wish I could find it, because they're walking down it always let me see, where's my phone, because it always comes up in my feed on my I keep a different YouTube channel on my phone because I don't like looking at myself. um it always comes up. It always comes up. It always comes up when I'm not looking for it. And I watched the entire thing, and it was really sad because the guy, like, and even the woman started getting awkward about it because the guy kept trying to interject. Oh, it must hurt, it must suck, blah blah blah, blah. And that woman was actively wanting to do it. So the weird part about prostitution is this. The sick and what I find truly sick and fucked up about prostitution. Now, there are cases where women, especially when you get to like poorer areas, like, and I mean like really poor areas, there are situations where women will genuinely be just kidnapped and sold into prostitution. Now that's fucked up. Now that is completely fucked up. I don't advocate these where women are doing it against their will. Okay, I'm not saying that's right at all, but generally in any richer country, the women are choosing to do it, especially if they're natives. Okay, they're choosing to do this, or they're natives to the continent in any kind of way. They're choosing this. I would say at minimum 98% of cases, these girls are choosing it because it's the easier way to make money. Okay, now the more disgusting part about prostitution is the reality. is because when you put a woman's back against a wall, she's going to say anything that she thinks will get her the easiest way out. Now, when you have the patriarchy who automatically wants to assign prostitutes as victims, now they're going to just do that. They're just going to say, oh, yeah, I'm a victim. Right? When you get all these males who are coming in a room with this desperate because these guys have never understood prostitution. Here's the thing. These guys who are against prostitution never understood prostitution, and they never even cared to try to actually hear the woman's side of it and what she's actually saying, and watch her actions of what she's actually doing and actually applying critical thought to what and how she's doing. Right? They've never done it. Okay. Like I said, well, yesterday, see, every prostitute knows five, six, 10 men who would not beat her, who would not do this, who would not drug her, who would not date rape her, who would not. Every woman knows these guys. Every woman knows these guys. Okay. So why is it that these women who can be physically attractive, if you open up their phones right now, they would have a slew of messages from straight up corny dudes, right? To women, corny dudes, right? Who they won't give the time of day to. And these women still choose, and these women choose, but these women end up being prostitutes or being physically abused and all this shit like that. Okay, and then on top of that, if a woman comes to you and tell her every guy that she gets with is abusive, well, look, you ding dong. What does that tell you that she wants? She wants abusive shit. Okay, and here's it's really sad and disgusting because again, to explain something to fucking idiots, you always have to use either dogs or food as examples. Okay, so if I put a cupcake here and a can of motor oil here, which one would you eat and drink? Would you drink the can of motor oil or would you eat the cupcake? Okay. Now, now, let's say you have disguises. Let's say this cupcake tastes like motor oil and this motor oil tastes like a cupcake, right? And you taste both of them, and then you'll go back to the taste of the one that tastes good, right? But then let's go even further. Let's say the motor oil that tastes like cupcake um, actually has the nutrients of motor oil, but you find out that the cupcake that tastes like motor oil has actual food nutrients in it. Now you make yourself eat the cupcake that tastes like shit, right? So once people figure out what they're doing, like they usually only make the mistake two max two maybe three times, especially women with the options women have. They're only going to make this mistake two or three times at max. They're not going to spend a lifetime in this shit. Right. All right. But see, these desperate guys who are extremely naive, that the women know are extremely naive, by the way. The women are fully aware. Okay. They know that these guys are extremely naive. But these guys, like it's really a sick and twisted. If I were a woman, I would have to assume from their perspective, these guys come off as cult followers. If I had to guess, like brainwashed cult followers. If I had to guess, if I was a woman and I met a man who, let's say if I was a woman and I was a prostitute, because again, I used to run prostitutes and hang out with hookers, right? If I was a hooker and I met a man who just automatically took it upon himself to protect women and women are smart and brave and all this and he was just doing this for no reason. Like he doesn't know me at all. You can tell he's never had pussy before and he's just automatically on that. My first thought of seeing a man like that is that this is a cult follower. This dude is mentally sick. All right. But this man is stronger than me. He can beat me up. So I'll just tell him whatever he wants to hear so I can get out this room safely. And see, that is the sick part that nobody, I guess, okay, men don't even give thought to. And women know, but they'll just never say it out loud because they're afraid of getting beat up by strong men, which is a reality. Okay, like this is like because most women just can't beat a man once a man gets angry, you know. And I'm not saying that to talk down on women, it's the truth, you know. Um, but yeah, I think these guys who just always try to like side with women, they don't see how crazy they look to women, you know. Like I said, out of every guy, out of every hooker I ever ran around Dayton, Ohio, hearing the conversations, how women talk about men behind closed doors when they know they're around like a separate group of people, dude, you will hear like women know exactly what's going on. There is no male feminist that's tricking them. Like the women know. These male feminists are you're male feminists. You are not fooling women. They know what you're doing, or either that, or you are truly mentally ill, and that's how they really see you. But they're not gonna tell you because they're afraid you might get mad. But that's what it is. But yeah, but yeah, I don't know how I got on that long conversation, that long rant. Hope all is well. Always pleasure. What's up? What's up, Chris Apple? What's up, man? You're not you're not all talking actual live. What you say on your channel? You're not all talk and actually live. Actually live what you say on your channel. You still have your bones. Yeah. Well, and yeah, well, and that's because like yeah, I did live it. I did, yeah, and I'm not saying I had a rough life or anything like that, but I have experience in these areas for sure. Um, is it a part of validation to send a friend's request to someone and never speak to that person again? It makes me wonder why people do it in the first place. Oh man, social media is just is a sick place in general. Honestly, I wouldn't give it too much thought. What's up, Gray Ray? At least you have control over your life. A lot of wives end up controlling their husband's life, even in divorce. Oh yeah, man. Here's the thing: the Uno. So the Uno says, at least you have control over your life. A lot of wives end up controlling their husband's life, even in divorce. So here's the thing, and this is another sad reality that comes when I speak to men who went through divorces or the spouse cheating on them and all that. Here's another sad reality. And now women are partly true with this, but they do it in cowardly ways. Again, because they're scared the man might just beat them up. Whenever I ask a man who went through these issues, did you ever see signs that the woman was starting to act weird? Like I always think about this line in Eminem. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a song that Eminem made long ago where he kills Kim. That so long, bitch, you did me so wrong. I don't want to go on living in this world without you. That song. And I always think of this line whenever I talk to guys about this, where he goes, um, I knew something was funny when you started to act weird. Hey, where you going? Get back here. He says like so, but he says like I knew something was funny was because you started to act weird or something like that. When I ask guys, do you remember? Okay, did she ever start to act like weird? Like she all of a sudden she didn't want to go somewhere, she didn't want to hug at a certain point or something like that. And every guy says yes. Every guy says yes. Every guy knows. And the tragedy is men's optimism. The tragedies is in men's optimism in hoping things will just get better. Okay. Now there are lines in that. Now, because usually signs of things that things will never get better is if she is not taking it upon herself to communicate to you in any way. And even then things still get worse, but especially if she's, withdrawing in any kind of way. If you start noticing a woman like withdrawing, especially physical affection, touch, sex, these kind of things, that's usually a clear sign that as a man, it's in your best interest to end it first. Because if you do, now you give her something to work back towards. But if she ends it, then it's just a milestone in her life, and she'll keep going off. Okay, and it never fixes itself. But every time I ask men, they always say yeah. So, but back to the women are really right for real, but it's still done in a cowardly way because again, just the dynamics. Men can just beat up women when we can just beat them up when we get mad. So the woman doesn't want to really say anything to disgruntle the guy, right? Here, it's the same thing like with these males who think they're saving prostitutes, right? It's the same thing. When a woman is confronted or stuck in a room with a man, she doesn't want to upset the man directly because she knows she'll be beaten up. If the man gets mad, she'll be beaten up, right? So she doesn't want to rile. So she will tell the man whatever she thinks he wants to hear, right? It's what she's going to do. And all that does, in the case of these guys thinking they're saving prostitutes, all it does is just start a fire. It just builds up the fire at that point, right? She's reinforcing his thoughts. He's thinking that he's saving a woman. She's just trying to get the hell away from this fucking weirdo. Right, and it just in the cycle it just grew in the mentally ill guy who genuinely thinks he's helping a prostitute. He is growing into an even crazier individual, and the woman's just trying to get the fuck out the room. Okay, because she can't win that fight if he fucks around. If that man is all of a sudden just riles up and goes, well, what did you mean, blah blah blah. Now the woman doesn't know. She'll say anything just to quiet him down or run away because she can't beat him. Right? It's the same thing with that. Now back to the guy who gets a divorce. See, the woman just doesn't want to have to do that. Have to run that chance. So she'll just get quiet and get weird and quiet and hopes the guy. And see, the reason why women get cold and quiet like that is because she's hoping that the man will just figure it out, right? But the thing is, most men usually don't give it. We don't give these things too much thought. So what happens is over time, if the man never grows to start to like figure it out and starts putting distance between her two, and if the man doesn't kick her out, all the woman sees is okay, he's gonna eventually blow. So it's in my best it's in my best interest to not get beaten up and just run away, and go and preferably to another man who I think I can manipulate to protect me from the previous one. Right? And she'll say anything to get there, anything. And it's a really sad situation because and this is particularly men's fault. These types of guys' fault is because they don't even stop and truly try to put themselves in a woman's shoes because they don't have experience with women at all. So they don't know. They can't see that side of it. That this woman is smaller or weaker than you. So she's always living with that knowledge that if you get riled up, you can just beat the dog shit out of her. Like, okay, so here's the thing. Men usually don't understand these things until they, for example, I'm just going to use this as an example. They usually don't understand this until they go to a place like the military or prison, where they now have to be locked into a place with guys who can legitimately kick their ass, right? Then it's like now the guys get it. Now it's like, oh, now I need to be nice and I don't want to rile them up because they might get mad and beat me up kind of thing. That's what women live with all the time, right? So if you got locked into a prison cell with Mike Tyson, even now, right? Because Mike Tyson's a fucking beast, right? If you got locked in a room with Mike Tyson, the last thing you want Mike Tyson to do is get riled up against you and you locked in this room with him. So what you gonna do? You gonna tell him whatever you can in the nicest way. most people will not stand up face to face with Mike Tyson and say, "Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm not here, blah blah. I don't agree with you. Because you don't want him to get riled up. That is what women live with every day. Okay, and like I said earlier, the sick part is when men is the sick part. The truly sick part is when these male feminists think that they're helping. That's the sick part because like they genuinely believe that they're helping because the woman is just going to agree with them. Right? They don't see between the lines of it properly. And it's really sad. It really is. Chris says the religious beliefs in the U.S. keep brothels out of the U.S. Honestly, I think that the at this point America, so like Western countries have gotten so fucked up. Like Europe still excels in brothels because their culture always had to deal with competition in women. Like Europe is just so much more closer to so many other poorer countries that there's always going to be cute women from another country that will come in and undercut the market. Well, like with brothels down here in Prague, the only thing keeping that shit, in regulation is that you got women coming from Bulgaria, Turkey. You got women coming from these poor European countries coming in the show park selling pussy for half the price. So that's keeping the Czech women in line. Because if it wasn't if it wasn't for these Romanian, these Turkish women, these Hungarian women, these Bulgarian women, if it wasn't for these women or even the Romas, if it wasn't for these women trickling over to the West in the show park, oh, these Czech women would have turned into American women because they wouldn't have had competition. You see, but see, when you got these beautiful little Turkish women popping up in there, right? When you got these beautiful Hungarian girls popping up in Show Park, yeah, and they will go in there and advertise selling their pussy for half the price, and they looking good or better than the Czech women. Yeah, see that keeps the Czech women down and acting like they got some sense. But in America, you don't got that. That competition's not there. So all the women have just stagnated in the disgustingness. I mean, you do have some cute ones here or there, but their self esteem is so high now that because the general population has devolved so much that, if she's even kind of cute, she thinks she's, Janet Jackson in her prime now. She thinks she's Whitney Houston. But at this point, I don't even think brothels would save America. Um, Even if you were to bring these women over to the U.S., I don't think it would. I used to think it would, but when I gave it more thought, I don't think it would because the culture is just too far gone. I don't think any Westerner country. Even if they did come, it wouldn't last long. It might be good for a little while, but the Eastern European girls that they would learn, they would figure it out. They would figure out the game, and I mean the American women might go down, but the Eastern European girls would come there and they would just turn into American women all over again because there's just too many resources and the men have just gotten too pathetic and too desperate. I don't think I think, I mean, it's just my opinion, just a random nobody on YouTube. But I think if it were to happen, it might be good for a couple years, maybe. Um, maybe, but it wouldn't last. It would just be the same thing all over again. And I think that Europe, the fact that Europe is set up the way it's set up, does benefit this because since you do have these severe average wage jumps from one country to the next that are literally neighbors, you will get that sense of competition that's still there. Now the bad side is they're never going to know how to make anything that'll truly take over the world because there's just too many languages, too many culture clashes that can allow. America pretty much just has one main language with generally one main overall culture. So we still have that unified sense of building things. It's much easier to build things if everybody speaks the same language. That's the whole story of what's that Bible story when they were building the Babylon, was it? No, Babylon was the city that got killed from sex. Fuck, what was that? What was that story in the Bible where they were all building the tower to get to heaven, and then God made them all speak different languages, and that's how we got all the different languages now. I can't think of it now, but that's literally the story behind that. In California, it is open out here, especially in Southern California. Prostitutions out there. 80. Well, thanks, Ivy Bo. Every yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think I'm doing a good job at all. I think I'm tired and my throat still hurts from coughing all the goddamn time because I got sick from my son. I think it's just shit. But thank you. Like, I never know if I'm doing a good job or not. Oh, the Tower of Babel. Yeah, that's what it was, wasn't it? The Tower. That's what it was. A Tower of Babel. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah. But no, but when it comes to keeping a certain quality in women, yeah, definitely. Europe does have the proper tools for keeping women, at least somewhere grounded in reality. Even counting Western Europe, they're still more grounded, more in reality than American women. Because I mean, again, American women, they just don't have that. They just don't have competition out there. There's nobody because the Mexican girls aren't, they're not in any competition. um, from what I hear, Canadian women are even worse. Um, I've never been to Canada, but that's what I'm hearing from Canadians. There's no competition that's going to come in and undercut the market in the pussy game. That looks good. Okay, there's just none that are going to do it. So the women, and just like with NBA 2K, just like with Madden, if there's no competition, the quality's going to go down. It just is what it is, no matter what it is. Which I never would have thought I would have said that about NBA 2K, but from the reviews I see and hearing people talk about it, because I don't play 2K, that's what everybody's saying, and it makes sense. Uh, when you remove competition, you remove quality, and America has no competition with women. Yeah, you said yeah, America, U.S. does not have that competition at all. Yeah, because over here you got okay. See now, and it's really weird how that works because you again, like I would assume it would have been different, but in reality, like with Europe, let's say you go to like Italy has from statistically speaking, of course, well, even in Czech Republic, like the average wage like in Prague can be a take home of like $1,200, but you leave Prague and most people are going to make $600 to $800 a month, right? That massive jump, that massive see in America, you can go to a small town factory, at least when I was coming up in college, and you can make some decent money in a small town factory and go back to a bigger town. That's possible. Like we had it differently, but in from every place I've seen in Europe, it's almost the other way around. It's like if you don't go to the capital city, like your wages will damn near be half the average wage of the country. So when you have that dynamic, it's not like in America it's all kind of meshed and mingled in and out, but in Europe it's far more segregated. It's like whap kind of thing, right? So you'll have like you know like for example, Czech Republic. When I used to go up to Liberec, where they filmed the second Spider-Man movie, they filmed it in Prague and they filmed it in Liberec. I used to go to Liberec because my foreign police station was up there. So you got to go to foreign police to check in for whatever. But if you got any business with the government, you usually got to go to the foreign police. And my foreign police used to be in Liberec. I used to go up there maybe once every few months. Beautiful place, by the way. I love it. Um, um, and you can always tell the hussies that were coming to Prague to sell pussy. You always knew. right? Because at first I would drive, and I started just take riding the buses up there. Because I used to drive at first, but I just don't like to drive anymore. And but a bus ride would be like $10. So I was like, yeah, fuck that. I'm just riding a bus up there. And again, also buses aren't stigmatized here like they are in America. So I just rode the bus, and every time on the way back, on the way up there, you wouldn't see them, but on the way back, you'd always see a woman dolled out. I mean, like just way too clean. You know what I mean? Like not clean in the sense of like people are dirty, but clean in the sense of like way too manicured for a girl from this kind of town. You know what I mean? Like the luggage was expensive luggage. She got on expensive shoes. She's got her hair perfectly done. She's got on her makeup is exquisite, and she's coming to Prague. That bitch is coming to Prague to suck dick. Okay. But you have, and then you have, so what that breeds in America, this doesn't happen as much. But what that breeds over here is, see, a lot of these prostitutes, they'll do that because no prostitute wants her family to know she's a prostitute. So they usually travel long distances to do it because they don't want their friends and family to know back in Pardubice or Brno or some small or Dresden. They don't want their family to know, so they'll travel to Berlin to go do it for a week or a month or 6 months and just say they're working in a restaurant or something. They'll go off and do that. But the thing is, like, they're usually dumb because everybody knows, women usually don't travel like this for just a regular job. Like they're doing that to go suck dick. Like, but the thing, like, the girls are so dumb, they never put two and two together that people know what they're doing for real, unless they hide it real well or only stay gone for like a day or something. But you get a lot of that competition from village girls. You get a lot of a lot of that from village girls. There's girls that are just from smaller towns who want to get out. Like that's always the woman's way of getting out of small towns is getting out there and fucking. But America, we're not a traveling culture. Americans are not a traveling culture. And that's when I try to explain that to like people I work with or I know here. Like in America, we don't get passports. We don't travel a lot. We mostly stay in the same state our whole lives. If we leave the state, it's a big deal for many Americans. Um, don't forget that in America, the women are also able to sell themselves through things like OnlyFans, yeah. And that's sad, man. Like that whole concept is just disgusting. OnlyFans, to me, that's just disgusting. Thanks. Let me thanks for the Cash App. I just seen that pop up. He said, "Yeah, thanks for the Cash App, man. Can you do Thursday? Yeah. Let me. I'm gonna go find it. Yeah. So let me go back. Oof. They really let her go off in editing. They let her go off with that. I can tell right now she's probably a single mother. How much you want to bet? Just by that belly part alone, I can tell she's a single mother. That loose ass belly hanging over them pants. That postpartum pouch hanging over that. Oof, I'm already done with this shit. I'm already done. I'm walking out the room already. No, I'm cool. Jesus Christ. I ain't gonna embarrass her like that. Let me go ahead and unzoom that. That is a postpartum pouch. That is a PPP. How can I donate? Oh man, I think it should be in description, or yeah, it should be in description. With PayPal or Cash App. I don't. I'm really bad at YouTube, man. So if that's not proof of me being bad at YouTube, I don't know what is. If I can't even tell you how to donate to me, if that ain't the truth, I don't know what is that I'm bad at YouTube and social media. It should be in description. Um, I can't even tell you how to donate to me. That's bad. I recommend reading an article titled "The Great Feminization of the American University" by Heather McDonald. Let's see how long it is. What is it? I'm just gonna go to the .org site just because it's .org. Oh, this is long. I probably ain't gonna read this. I mean, I'm not online. I'll read it in my own time, but it's too long for tonight. You're right. Brothels are legal in Australia, but the women here are still delusional. Plus brothels cost 3 to 5 times the price of pro. Oh yeah, Jesus Christ, man. 3 to 5 times that amount, and I bet they don't look like they're not like the women in these. Look, okay, because the Show Park website does not do the women justice, dude. Like, but again, like you also got to get lucky on the night you go there, because there's been some nights I go on there and it wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. But then there's other nights I've gone in there, and I mean, it is legitimately like the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life that'll be in there. Like, but the thing is, there's no because the girls they just come and go whenever they want to go work in there, so they don't have a particular schedule. So you just kind of have to just go. But okay, but in Show Park, like they do just keep a certain quality of woman in there for sure. Like now, there's other brothels in Prague that do keep like Tesco worker quality women in there. And like Lidl quality women in there. There's brothels that are like that. I remember one time when I was working that job in IT, and me and this one, it was another American, and he was older. He was probably like 45, 50, something like that at the time. This is like 10 years ago. This is when I first came here, and we was talking about brothels at work, and and so we end up going out that night to a brothel, and because I at this point I had only seen Show Park, so I didn't know that like the other brothels could be like lower quality. Even then, though, they're not like absolutely terrible women. They're just not Show Park quality girls. They're like the next. They're about a tier down from that. Like you know what I mean? Like well, I don't know. Like I don't know. Like if there's Spider Man, well then you got others that are like Iron Fist. You know what I mean? Like they're a tier down from from the Show Park women. Not terrible, but they're just not as good as the Show Park women. Anyway, we went to this one random one, and when I Google it, I could always end up finding it because it just had this specific peculiar look to it. But I remember we go in. There was one girl in there who was Show Park quality, and the rest of them were like regular bitches for Czech Republic, of course. But which is so in America they'd still be considered beautiful, but in Czech Republic they were just like average bitches. And I remember the one girl who was Show Park quality. I'm not exaggerating. She had a line of men waiting to fuck her. And I'm not even exaggerating that. She had a wait of like an hour and a half to like even sign a list to be next. And I'm not exaggerating at all. I still remember I don't remember her face, but I remember her body, and she had a show park level. I remember she was wearing a short skirt. I can remember that, and she was walking around, and she just had a line, dude. Um, but the rest of the girls, they weren't like bad. They weren't mean, and that's the other part. Like they weren't mean or snobby or anything like that. There was nothing they were never. Very few times have I ever met a prostitute here that was like snobby or mean or anything like that. They can't afford to be, because they got competition. But they always had a decent, human sense to them for sure. I'm not gonna say it's the same. Like I've heard like South America, but I've never gotten a prostitute in South America, so I can't speak on prostitution in South America. But I've heard that Patrice O'Neill used to talk about it. He said like they sell an experience. I've never experienced it because I've never done it, but Czech women are more in the lines of that versus like American women with this whole attitude behind it. You know, do you still go to the brothels? Honestly, no. Honestly, no. It was one of those things that just really kind of ran its course. No, I have no interest to go. To be 100% honest with you, I have no interest. It was just that part of it. Brothels are like it's the same thing in this context. And this is where I would really love a conversation with somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio or Hugh Hefner because there's got to be something more to this with them. Brothel, okay, however you cut it, because it's all prostitution. However you're gonna cut it, but the concept of recurring visits to beautiful women to hang out with them, to keep it as a constant in your life, right? To truly keep that as a constant, to go around beautiful women, as if it is like a true like I don't know how else to really define it, but like as a constant. It's the same thing as when people get jobs at Google or like these really 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 rare jobs that pay excellent money and excellent benefits, and people would dream it's like people's dream jobs to work at Google. And but when you find like people on YouTube talking about working at Google, most people quit Google like within like 5 years. Like Google actually has a hard time keeping a decent amount of people because it wasn't really the job they were after. They were after the just that experience. And when they got tired of the experience, they just kind of like just quit Google and went off and did something else. And because they attained what they dreamed of. And so then once you get it, it's like, oh, that's what it is. And then, many people would just leave Google, for no reason. Like they just got tired of it. They achieved it. That's what brothels. That's what show part. That's what this general situation of getting with completely gorgeous, beautiful women is, because now, like I said, I'm curious to have a conversation with somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio or even like an Andrew like these guys who really like push that as their lifestyle of yeah, I got beautiful women, blah 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 blah, blah, right? I like or Hugh Hefner, these guys who really push that narrative, that mentality, that way of life. I'm not faulting them, but I'm curious what's really driving that because at some point you've got to start talking to these women and seeing brutal realities and giving it thought. And for me, what ended up happening was even though I ran prostitutes in Ohio and I had a really a relatively really good experience with hookers in Ohio. um, I learned more here in the context of existing with beautiful with what the world would consider gorgeous women, right? And realizing that these women are just wearing a costume because they don't really know what it is that makes them like that. They genuinely don't know. They're just getting in where they fit in and make money and leave kind of thing. They genuinely don't see the way their the way their ankles are shaped and heels that go with their hips. They don't get it, right? So I'm curious. Like I would love. Well, I think did Hugh Hefner die? I think he died. But I'm really curious to have a conversation with somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio or Andrew Tate to really try to understand what's driving that long term, because it's one of those things. Like once I did it, I was just done with it. Like it ran its course, and I genuinely have no interest. I mean, like if you come here to visit me and you want to go, I'll go with you and hang out with you and get some beers and talk to the girls and all that. But like if you leave me in my everyday daily life, the last thing I think about is going to Show Park. I don't even. It's not, I wouldn't even say the last thing because I don't even think about it. But it is there. It's one of those things that just ran its course. Like I said, see and like I said, this comes from living life. See, like for example, it always irked me. I'm gonna get on this last thing, and I'm gonna start this video. What's always irked me with American guys, because we're about the only ones who really do this, is is they always try to find a way to brag about getting girls, and if you bring up the topic of threesomes, they get like awkwardly excited about it. And that's how I could tell these guys have never had threesomes before or more with women. um if you bring up the act of threesomes, they always get awkward. you know it's always just, ooh, yeah, I brought like three back to the telly and we drank, bro. We drank so much alcohol, bro. We drank so much alcohol, bro. Bro, I drank like a whole bottle of Belvedere, bro. I drank like a whole bottle of Tanqueray, bro. And we were just lit. See, when they start to use the slang and they're talking about how much alcohol they drank and they start getting excited, that's like I said, they never done it. They've never done it. They start getting awkward. It's this image of what they think somebody who does this does. You see, because I can tell you from experience, and I've always been very open about this. I would never. There's extremely low chance I would ever do have a threesome ever again. The reason why is because it's a matter of time before the two girls start fighting. Because now you're managing two girls at the same time, right? So if you're getting into like fucking one and getting on to the other one, now the other one's gonna start getting a little mad and jealous because you're not paying attention to her, right? And then the other one, like so it really ends up this complicated mess that is just not worth it, right? Again, it's good to get the experience to know what it is, but is it really worth it to me? It's not worth it. It's a very low chance, even if brought to me, that I would ever do it again. Very low. I went through a phase of that when I was. I went through two phases of that. The second one really died out because one of the girls got fat over the years. But the first time it was these two black girls, and we did that for about a week straight until there was a really bad snowstorm, and the weather had dropped so low that everybody's car battery. I told this story a long time ago. Everybody's car battery died because the temperature just like dropped like crazy one night and snowed, and the cars wouldn't start. Nobody's car would start. And so my car couldn't start, so I couldn't go down there too. Because I would just drive over there, or I would just drive to there to, well, it was the one girl's mom's apartment, but they would be in there. But they were grown. The one girl was like 30 something, and she was like 20 something. My main friend was like she was in her early 20s, and I would drive over there, and we would just like casually have threesomes like throughout the day, all day, and we did that for about a week or two straight. And then when that snowstorm hit, I just couldn't go down there, and that's how it just kind of died. We just never. I mean, we still hooked up and talked, but we never really did that again. And then the second phase I went through that was here with two Czech girls, because they would come from out of town to come here, because to them, you got to remember, living in Prague is to them is like living in New York City. That's an identity thing for them. So it's like and then on top of that, they get to get away from home and cut loose. So like we would do it, but the one girl got fat, so she would stay in the other room, and me and the main girl would stay in here. Um, I actually stumbled upon. I kept a picture somewhere in my phone. I didn't even know I still had a picture of the one. I just looked at it a few days ago. She's in a bar. It's her in a bar with another girl. See if I can find. It was an old picture. Let me see if I can find that picture of the one that I did that I would continue to hook up with. It was an old pic. It's way back because I was going through my pictures and deleting old pictures. And it's not like you guys are gonna know who she is anyway. But oh wait, let me just do years. 2000. It had been 2016 in this. That's me when I was a baby. Yeah, my dad sent these pictures. That's my dad hugging me when I was a baby. That's my mom. And I'm sitting there crying like a fucking asshole. I know I was terrible when I was a baby. That's my mom. She died in 2000. I meant to show this picture a long time ago. So remember, I don't know if I told you guys, I met this one girl at this Halloween party and we completely hit it off, right? And this is back when I went back to America. And I told this story a long time ago how I wore this Stay Puffed. Let me see if I can find Stay Puffed real fast. Stay Puffed. This dude. So I was hanging out with a buddy of mine. I let his wife borrow my BMW while I was in Europe because my BMW is a stick shift in America. It's the last year that they sold stick shift. So I think it's like a 2009 or something like that. But I had to have a stick shift. So that's why I got that one. So we were always really good friends. So they had this Stay Puft costume, Halloween costume that had the fan in it that always kept it big. This was unheard of to me back then. So when I seen it, I was like, I'm wearing that tonight. So this is me in the Stay Puft suit. And we was all sitting down drinking in this garage party. And it was just like, and I met this girl, I can't remember her name, but we completely hit it off that night while I'm wearing that suit, the Stay Puft suit. You see, here she is. This is the picture of her. That's her, and she looks like a librarian. That's her. Now the threesome wasn't with the other girl. I don't know who that other girl is, but that's the girl who I was having threesome. She's a Czech girl. She doesn't speak any English. So I remember, I remember at one point I was on top of her like fucking her, and her friend was like her head was like right next to hers, and she's like talking. I don't know what the fuck she's saying. So I'm asking the other friend like, what's she saying? Well, I'm like pounding her. She goes, oh, she's saying she's saying that she likes it. It was funny, but yeah. But after that, I don't have any interest in threesomes again, man. I really don't. I really don't have much interest in drinking anymore. Your mother like a sweet woman. Yeah, she was cool. My mom she would kill me for telling these stories. My mother she's like my spouse now, where like she thinks like farting or burping is just like death in public of humiliation. But like my mom, she was a highly educated woman, and she was a very professional woman out in public. She was always dressed up. She always had her hair done. She always did her nails, her hair, all that, right? And she was always feminine. She was never masculine in any kind of way. She was highly educated and she was a social worker. And she would kill me for telling this story. But she would always burp and fart so loud when it would just be me and her, right? Always like it was so bad. Like I made a joke, and my dad would even. I remember my dad. To this day, he still busts out laughing when I tell this joke, because my mom would burp so loud at home and fart like just so loud, like incredibly loud, that her friends would never imagine that she was like that when it was just me and her. And I remember I told my dad this joke, but my mom was there, and my mom didn't find it funny, but my dad was busting out laughing. I said, when they have the tornado warnings and there be them sirens that go off, that well, how about we just get my mom and just put her on top of a building with a microphone and like some speakers, and she just burp into the microphone. like brrr. And my dad to this day, he still finds that shit hilarious. But yeah, let's start this video, man. 'Cause it's almost 9. I'm talking too fucking much. Oh, thanks, Street Genius. You on Pimps lacking metal, bro. Is my mic fucked up again? Can you guys hear me? Are people still complaining? Because they were complaining yesterday about that. let me YouTube myself to see if my mic is fucked up. Because people were saying something yesterday about my mic. Is my mic fucked up again? Can you guys hear me? Are people still complaining? Because they were complaining yesterday about that. Oh, sounds all right to me. Anyway, let's start this video. Let me shut the fuck up.
He said, I am Blame 56. We have a lot of haters. It wasn't because our age or our height. It was because our profession at the time. A lot of people in our profession did think that I was a gold digger. If you can't handle a sports car, then don't buy it because she is a fine sports car. When Akila first told me about her in blue, I was so skeptical. I'm like, oh my God, not your boss. How can he be my son-in-law when I'm younger than him? You told me he was just your friend. You want some tea?
No, you know I hate tea, but I drink it. I'm forced to drink it. Healthy girlfriend. They hope I don't fade away. I feel better, but I still like my fried chicken.
I'm Akila, 27.
I am Blame 56.
So we've been dating for about 2 years now.
It's this short older guy with this younger, taller girl.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, they think it's, oh, that's a sugar daddy, you know what I mean? Not knowing that we are together.
So I started working at the dealership, and I would sell a lot of cars, and every day I would have to go over to finance, and he would see me, and he walked up to me and said, you know, hey, I would like to buy you some new shoes. As I started to, you know, get to know him more, I'm just like, okay, who is this guy that just keeps pursuing me? Like, what does he want? I was 25 when we started talking.
I was 54 when we started.
So when I first saw him and he first came up to me, and I told him this too, I said, who granddaddy is this trying to talk to me? I'm not a stranger to talking to older men, but in that time I was working, so I was so like focused on like work. I wasn't even thinking about dating or, you know, like taking anything.
Hey, real quick. They to be fair, they seem like a nice couple. I feel bad for making fun of her stomach earlier. But real quick, this is just something I find funny. I want to make a movie or like a skit or a movie. Because what's bothering me is her hair. I want to make a movie. There was a movie, I think John Travolta did it, where it was called like White Like Me or Black Like Me or something, where like the dynamics were completely changed, where like white people were in charge of everything. I mean, I'm sorry, where black people were in charge of everything and white people were like the lowly factory workers and all that, right? I want to make a movie like that, but make it a comedy. And the one skit I want to do is I want to just to show how ridiculous black women look with this hair. I want to make a scene primarily where there's a white woman in the kitchen trying to make her afro wig on top of her normal hair because she hates how her normal hair looks. But make the scene as if like it's totally normal. You know what I mean? And then she puts on the afro, you know what I mean, and be walking around thinking she look good with like a white woman with these are a white woman with an afro. Like I want to make a movie with where and it just follows like white women around and follows them in how white women would do everything to change themselves to look like black women, right? Just to show how ridiculous that shit looks for real. You know what I mean? But make it like serious, but make it like a comedy, like something like The Office or something, like with no laughing track, like nobody's telling you when to laugh, you just see it and be like, that is fucked up, kind of thing, right? That's what's bothering me is her hair, but they seem like a nice couple, honestly.
serious in that moment?
Really, it was the shoes that I thought about those shoes. I had never met her. Went out there to talk to her about the shoes. I looked up and she was a pretty girl. So I said, what's wrong with me trying to holler at her? She was a little taller than what I thought. Well, let me take a shot. All she do is say no. Well, I had some friends say, hey, you know, she's a lot younger than you. Why would you talk to her? I'm really not into the age different thing. I think I go more about if your energy revolves with each other and feels good. I don't care about the age. That's how I feel. What are you gonna wear today?
I don't know, to be honest.
My favorite shoes are sandals that she wears because then she's closer to my height. I see the same shoes every day, and I said, she sell a lot of cars, but she needs to change the shoes and get a better set of shoes. She probably sell more cars.
He went to the store, bought me a whole bunch of, nice different garments. And then from there, we just kind of like developed a friendship.
Hey, I found it. It goes perfect.
Oh my God, no.
Let's do this. Boom.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, fine. Them shoes was the gateway to heaven for him. He was lucky I was wearing them shoes because he didn't know what else to say, So as far as intimacy, honestly, I feel like it's just like a normal relationship. The only thing we did have issues with when we first started was like his weight. But that's when I just kind of started finding softer ways to encourage him. Like, okay, babe, let's go look at a personal trainer. Hercules. We went to a comedy show. We went to go take a picture with a comedian. He looked at us. He said, "That's your girl." Yeah. But he also looked good too. You know what I mean? So that makes me feel good. Do you remember when we went to the indoor golf place?
Yes.
And that man checked our IDs. He was like, he asked me for my ID. I said, well, if I'm with him, obviously I'm old enough. And he was like, who is this, your daddy? And I was like, yes, but no.
Age, height. I've been shut down by height before. It was rough at first, but we had to build on it. Different age groups, different times. People think different. We didn't have haters at work. We had haters at work because of the age group. The younger guys wanted to say, why would I talk to the younger girl? And, girls say the same. But I let that bypass over my head.
When Akila first told me about her and Blue, I was so skeptical. I'm like, oh my God, not your boss. Like, that's television stuff. When she first introduced me to him, I was very, very reserved. I was like, oh my gosh, this old guy is trying to talk to my baby girl. He was short, and I'm like, oh no, what happened to tall, dark, and handsome? But for me, it was more of the age difference. If I could ask him anything, I would want to know, is her heart safe with him? Can I truly let my guard down and trust him with her heart?
You told me he was just your friend. I'm just glad that we can actually go out and eat together. Yeah. Because before, no thank you. I would not have wanted to go out with y'all.
I think you got the opportunity to see, like, who Blue was and, how open I was with being with him. So,
yeah, you didn't have a problem with it. I had
I said now,
I had a problem with it.
Yeah, she made a post in, 2021, 2022. Said, if you see me with an older gentleman, don't think that he coerced me. Just know I coerced him.
We're just living in a new world. All this is new to us. All this is new to us. I'm more traditional.
When she told me how old he was, I was so concerned because I was like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, he's older than me. How can he be my son-in-law when I'm younger than him? I ain't gonna date him. I would not have dated him because I am shallow. I wouldn't even date someone who's his age.
Most people, when they see y'all, they thinking you just after him for his money, and they don't know that y'all actually vibe really good together. Look, at first I was a little skeptical because I'm like, okay, this is an older grown man around my daughter and my granddaughter, but now
okay, that confirms it, yep.
Vibe really older grown man.
Because I was going to ask, where's that kid at? Because I seen that belly.
Around my...
I knew there was a kid somewhere. I knew it. I seen that belly start. I was getting ready to start asking, yeah, where's that baby at? That confirms it. Shit, this fucking mouse. God damn it. I knew it. I was going to ask. I seen that belly, that postpartum pouch. But to be honest though, they're good. They're good, man.
My daughter and my granddaughter, but now I see how y'all vibe together because it took me a long time to get to this place. The mama bear, I would never let down. Never. But that doesn't have anything to do with you as a person. That just I'm skeptical of a lot of people. I don't like it, but I respect it. Is that fair? Yeah. We're cool, right? Blue, are we good? Yeah. You gotta say, I'm just glad that you have somebody that is here for you that you can look up to, and with your height difference, he can look up to you too.
I don't like taking pictures. I'm not photogenic. This is just her all the time. From a scale of 1 to 10, she swears she's an 11.
Let's check our TikTok. We got a video that's been going viral. It says you should read the manual before you buy the car because it's obvious that this one is going to be wild. And if you can't handle a sports car, then don't buy it because she is a fine sports car. Maybe she needs a younger, more efficient driver. We have a lot of haters. People that are not in favor of our relationship. It wasn't because our age or our height. It was because our profession at the time. Now we don't have too many issues, but it was really our profession that was driving a wedge between us. I think a lot of people in our profession did think that, I was a gold digger or it was my age that was going after him. But a lot of people don't know me. My past, as far as my relationship with money, before I met him, I was very independent, financially. But with him, it's just like, it's not just about finance. He'll help with school drop-off, or he will wash the dishes. So it's like he's taking care of financially, but he's also filling other gaps. A man that genuinely wants to be with you, he's going to take care of you, in every aspect.
Hey, girl.
Where is Daddy Grim?
I'm right here.
We do a good job of making each other feel like the show is about that person, if that makes sense. So it's not just all about him, or it's not just all about me. What I love most about Blue is the fact that he is consistent and he's stable. And for the people that judged us, what I would like to say is thank you, because if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
For me, everything was fine, but the single mother thing, man. Especially now as a father myself, like, no, just taking that. Like I said, I was speaking to my aunt about that, and my aunt knows, and she was a single mother. And as I asked her, I said, "Would you rather your son get with a woman with kids or without kids?" And she said, "A woman without kids." No woman wants their son to get with a woman with kids. I mean, yeah, no woman wants their son to get with a woman with kids. I think, especially if the kids are younger. Now, once you get older, it's just going to be common. Once you get to be 40 and up, it's going to be common that people are going to have kids. But my thing, okay, getting with a woman who has small children is just I think that's gross. But that's just my opinion. And I'm not saying this is a red pill thing or anything or the red pill's completely against all of it. But a woman with a small child and you sitting up with the kid on your lap, no. As somebody who has a child now, especially as someone who has a child now, no. That is just okay. Unless you two were the only way I could potentially even give that a chance is if it was a woman that I had known a lot in high school or something, and then we just kind of drifted apart, and then her husband legit died or something like that. Possibly then, but even then is a very low chance. That is just a whole extra accessory that is just not. That is a whole extra accessory and complication that can go wrong. That is just not worth it. To It's just not worth it. That is just unless or a guy's super lonely or something like that. But that is no, especially now if the kids are bigger and grown, then yeah, then whatever. But if they're young like that, no. If a woman is trying to date with a younger child, dude, there is just especially as someone who has a child now, there is just so much wrong with that. There's so much wrong with that woman has no sense of 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 connection, of stability, none of that. She is just a turd in the wind. She is literally a turd in the wind. And then she's going to put a child on another man. Talking about a package deal and all that. That is fucking gross. It's fucking disgusting. It's like I said, especially now, someone who has a small child. That I would not. Okay, let's say like right now, like I would not date anybody with a small child. My son is 3 now. No, and inviting another woman to come hang out with him, hell no. Fuck no, I'm not doing that. Bringing another woman to come hang out with my son and sitting on her lap and all that. Get the fuck out of here, bitch. No. No. That's fucking gross. Get the fuck away from my kid. I don't care. I don't care if the other woman would like kids. No, y'all ain't buddies like that. That is a woman who needed help. Help. Hit me, please. HEP. Help. That is a woman who needed help. If it wasn't for the single mother thing, I would say that was cool. But the single mother thing made it just like, I know what that is. Because I dated women with small children too. I know what that is. No. And then now as somebody who has his own child, absolutely no. Absolutely not. That is disgusting on her because she knows what she's doing. She knows. Now he may not know. She may have spun it so he never thought to ask certain questions and these things, but she knows exactly what it is. No, that's gross. If Because okay, here's the thing. Because see, these are the reality, especially if a man didn't have a child and he never really grew up around small children any kind of way, he won't really know. Now, I don't know this man's past or anything, and maybe he does have kids, I don't know. But even then, it's still, I would never do that, at least now. And but see, when you have a child, more times than not, the child always wants its mother, right? So if a woman has a small child who's always crying and wants his mom and wants to hold mom and wants to sit on mom's lap and wants to always be around mom, to be in the kitchen with the mom, to cook with the mom, to clean with the mom, to cry on the mom, to throw up on the mom. Oh, see, if she has a young child like that and the woman is still going out and trying to go date and talk to other men and developing, and if she has any extra time to go out there and socially invest into a whole other foreign man that has nothing to do with essentially this tribe at home, something is seriously wrong with that woman mentally, seriously, with a capital S. All right. There is something seriously wrong with that woman. If she's able to do that, that woman needs help. Money help, maintenance help at home. That woman needs a lot of help. All right. There is nothing romantic about that. She needs aid. She needs assistance. She needs a bailout. Okay. When you think about that, the longer I think about that, the worse it gets. That woman if a woman has time to go out there and invest into a whole foreign other man with a small child who's crying, clawing, wanting to play, wanting to laugh with mommy and all that, and she still has in her to go out and entertain and entertain a whole ass different other man that she didn't know, but especially she didn't know him before, and learn him, and then she's working a job too. No, bruh, that ain't right. No, no, that's built on wrong shit from the start. You can call me a hater, whatever you want to call me, but you know I'm telling the truth. Every woman knows. Go to show to everything I said to any woman who's had children. To record everything I just said and play it back to any woman you know that has a child, and ask them where I'm lying. That's wrong. That's wrong from the start. Now I'm not saying they won't make it. Maybe they could make it later on in life, but like no, that's built on wrong shit from the start. That's not how women or small children operate at all. Unless they're just looking for a bailout. Because she doesn't have time. If that woman is being a mother, she doesn't have time to go out and do this. It's like these Brittany Renner kind of girls who had the kid. And when she records, you never see any sign of children anywhere where she's recording at all. See, that's a fuck up. That woman is a fuck up. See, right now, I got my son's toy sitting right next to this motherfucker. I got his trucks, this shit. I got toys for days sitting right next to this motherfucker. He always takes his box and just dump it out. It's got blocks. It's got cars. It's got this. It's got his little baby wrench. He got all this shit. I got toys everywhere. All right. See, and that was another big sign because when they was in their house, I was thinking it to myself when they were showing that house. They were showing that house and interviewing them, and everything's all perfectly spick and span. I don't see one toy, no nothing in there, to the point where I'm starting to second guess if she actually has a child because I clearly seen that postpartum pouch in the beginning. And in the end, they bust out and they, oh yeah, I got to see my granddaughter, which confirmed it, of course. But see, like, no, none of that sounds right at all. None of that. None of that sounds right. No. Mm-mm. And then she's sitting up with the nails and the weave and no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No. I mean, mess with that, but keep that outside the house. Don't marry that or nothing like that. That's it. No. And then her mama can't keep no man because I seen her mama wasn't wearing no wedding ring. That no, leave that shit the fuck alone. You be better off just go buying a hooker and just develop a good relationship with a prostitute, with one who actually knows she's a prostitute. Right? That's a waste of time. That's disgusting. It's like I said, especially as somebody who has a kid and who knows. That's disgusting. Don't touch that. Don't touch that. Yeah, I've heard of Whole Math. He's a good dude. Now that Snap is about to be cut, we're about to see some very odd couples out there. Yeah. Being a stepdad used to be respected. Now it's a thankless job. Yeah. Yeah, years ago, from at least from my perspective, I would agree with you on that. Yeah, years ago for sure. Yeah, it used to be respected. Um, Overall, that there was never any real, like, even when I was coming up, there wasn't any real, like, stigma or anything attached to it. It was almost seen as like you graduated as a man kind of thing. And that dude's like 50, 56, so he's older than me. So I'm sure he knows that times. He's probably mentally stuck in those times, if I had to guess, because he's got the little girl sitting on his lap and all that. Dude, there is so much wrong with that. Mm. I mean, I wish the best for him, but okay, for my advice for any man out there, never do that. That is a horrible. That no. Unless you're just extremely bored and you just need drama in your life, that no. Because now you got to deal with the babies. If he's still alive, you got to deal with the baby's dad. Like, you always going to be worried about if the baby's dad's going to have something to say, or he gonna be in town this week, or some shit like, and you always gonna feel a little guilty because now you sit up here with his kid, and deep down that you're the intruder for real. Now she don't care because she just getting paid off of you. You know what I mean? And she has a male protector, so she don't give a fuck what happens to you, because when push comes to shove, she will pick that baby's father. Okay. Um, if shit gets too serious and she has to pick one, she's gonna pick that baby's father, because that's the father. That For any man who watched that, my advice to you is absolutely not. You would be better off just being alone and doing what you want to do in life and just dealing with the loneliness if you're lonely. Because that is a mistake. Oh, you talking about Street Genius? You talking about Ho Man? I think. But yeah, man, it's 9:15. I'm gonna get out of here because it's late and I'm just getting tired. I'm still borderline sick from dealing with, because my son got me. He gets me sick every other week. This week, like I said, this week they're on vacation from school, so he had no school at all this week. Um, because his school texts us every time in the WhatsApp group, and they ain't sent one message at all. So they definitely closed. Um, but yeah, and then next week back taking him to school. So yeah, I'm gonna cut y'all. I'm gonna cut it short, man, because I'm just tired and like not 100%. So yeah, y'all have a good day, eat a night, man. And thanks to everybody who donated or subscribed or liked my channel. And I'll catch you later, man. Peace out.